everyone, today we're going to take this disco pleather from Spotlight, these keychain fobs from Amazon to create this Mean Girls inspired keychain. So let's make this. For this project we need 2 grip mats. So I've got a standard and a strong. The standard is for the HTV and the strong, along with the masking tape, is for the pleather. I've got disco pleather, which I got in the clearance bin at Spotlight for just $2. This is a pretty cool pleather. It comes in heaps of different colours and varieties, so go to Spotlight and check it out. I'm using HTV Ront vinyl. You know I love it. We've got pink and silver to go against the pink of the pleather. Mod Podge, as well as the keychain fob. And the keychain fob came with that tool, and I got those from Amazon. So those are the things we need for this project. So to begin with, we're going to use Canva to create our design. If you aren't sure on how to sign up to Canva, go back to my Donut Give Up video and it goes through the process. So today I'm just going to sign in with Canva through my Gmail account. You can use Facebook, email, mobile phone, lots of different ways you can sign up to Canva and to use it. So I'm going to go and create a design up in the top right hand corner. And I'm going to create a square. Whenever I'm doing anything on Design Space, I use a 12 by 12 inch Canva page. So I'm going to go over to my text option on the left hand side. And because we're doing a Mean Girls inspired keyring today, I'm going to use the quote, "On Wednesdays, we wear pink." So I'm going to start with "On Wednesdays." I am going to go to the text, the font style. I'm going to pick the filter free. And because I've already looked this up, I know that Futura is the Mean Girls font. Okay. If you'd like to choose a different font, pause here, scroll through. I use free fonts. If you are a Canva Pro member, obviously you can use your Canva Pro and you can use any of those fonts. But for today, and luckily for the Mean Girls component, Futura is free. So I've got Futura for the On Wednesdays, and just like the poster that you can see now on the screen, it starts with a regular font and then we're going to add a bold font underneath, but both Futura. If a font has an arrow next to it, it means that it's got more options. So here we've got light, regular, medium, bold, extra bold. So I've chosen the regular and then I've chosen the bold. So On Wednesdays, we wear pink. So that is my first side of my keyring. So I'm going to download that as a PNG. I'd love to use it SVG. If you've got Pro, you can create transparent backgrounds. You can choose it SVG as your saving file. But we can get rid of backgrounds in Design Space. So it works for me. Now we're going to do my name or a name. You can put whatever you like on this other side. My name's Anita, hence Honey Neats. And I'm just going to type Anita in. And now I'm going to choose a font. This time I want a bit of a handwriting font. I'm going to make sure that free font is still there. Now, again, pause here so you can scroll through fonts, try and find something that suits you. But I chose Apricots. I like this font. It sits nicely and it's handwriting, but it's not too much of a stretch to think that maybe I wrote that. And now I'm going to download this Anita as a separate file. You could do both of these at once, okay? And then they become a zip file and you can extract them. But we'll look at that further in a different clip. But for now, we've just done them separately and import or upload both of those separately into Design Space. And again, we're going to delete the background. All right, so now we're going to create a new project in Design Space. To start off with, we're going to upload our On Wednesdays We Wear Pink. So I'm going to go into Upload on the left-hand side, click on Browse, and then I'll find my On Wednesdays We Wear Pink PNG file. Mine's in Downloads, yours might be in a different file depending on where you save your downloaded files from Canva. And then we're going to remove the background. This is a free component of Design Space, so you do not have to pay for this. And I just click on the white section, so those squares indicate that there is no background. So we're finding the white bits. So I would just zoom in here, and I'm getting rid of all of the center bits between the O, the D's, the A's, the P's, the R's, and just go through. This one's a quite straightforward image to get rid of the all of the background, but you can click on Preview Single Layer, and you'll find, particularly when you're doing a script font, that you might find components that have not been deleted. So it does help when you click on that Preview Single Layer. We're not doing a multiple layer here. We're just going to single layer. Again, I'm only doing things that you do not need to pay extra for. Cricut Access is an extra payment. So I'm not going to use that. We're just going to use the single layer here. Change the image name just in case you want to go back and you want to find that image again, because as I said before, as you keep growing your image catalog, you may need to go back and find them, and it's easier to do a search if you've got at least something that indicates what that image was. So in this one, I just called it Mean Girls Quote. Now I'm going to work on creating our wristlet shape. So I'm going to create this in a number of different components. So the first component is the top of our lanyard. Now the top of our lanyard is going to fit underneath our fob. I know that the width of the fob is 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch. So I unlock the size, I change it to 2.5 width and a 1.5 height. So then I know that it's going to fit nice and snugly underneath the fob component. I just do a little bit of measuring in case yours is a little different, but mine should fit under there quite nicely. Change the color to pink just because that's the color of my amazing pleather. And now I'm going to do the next component. Now the next component is the part that's going to go around the wrist. So it's the long section, and that's where we're going to put the On Wednesdays We Wear Pink on one side and our name on the other side. Now we're going to start with a 15 centimeter piece. I know that when we put these two together, it is going to be too big, but we can play around with that a little bit later. Now I want to align these because there would be nothing worse than putting all of these things together and then realizing that they're actually on an angle. So I'm going to align it first, change that long piece to pink so that it matches our top. And then I'm just going to shuffle them around. All right, so I'm going to highlight these two pieces now that I've aligned them and I think that they're going to touch each other. I go down to the right and click Combine and Unite. Then I want to duplicate this because we need two sides for our lanyard. So we're going to duplicate it and then we're going to click on it and flip horizontal. And now I'm going to center again just to make sure that they are together. I'm going to go down to Combine, Unite. And you can see here that there are no lines here, which means the Cricut isn't going to cut anything apart from the outer edge. Okay, so now that we've got both our On Wednesdays We Wear Pink and the Anita file sorted, we're going to first of all start with changing the size of the wristlet. And now I'm going to add an offset. So I'm going to start with On Wednesdays. I go click on on Wednesdays we wear pink, and then go up to offset. Because we've created a transparent background for that, it means that the offset will go around that image and look at and go inside each of those components. So then we need to go down to the right hand side and click on contour. Make sure that your offset on the right hand side in your layers menu is highlighted before you go down to contour. If it doesn't appear, if contour is grayed out, it's probably because you haven't chosen offset yet. I've gone with a 0.15 offset here, and I think it looks pretty good. I've got an outline of grey because I'm going to use silver as my offset colour, and then I'm using a pink, but I don't want to double up the pinks at this stage, so I've just chose red for the quote. I'm going to rotate it just to see how it fits, and then slide it over the top of the wristlet. You can see there on the right hand side that I've got both the Mean Girls quote and the offset highlighted. If you don't have both, only one of those things will move, and that can be a little bit frustrating. So looks like I've got that one centered now, and I'm going to do the same thing for my name. I'm going to do an offset, and then same one, a 0.15 I'm going to apply, and then I'm going to change the size and get rid of those contours. Sorry, change the color and get rid of the contours, not the size. And then rotate and make it fit in there. So it doesn't matter whether or not you have put it in the middle of your shape at this stage of your wristlet shape, but it just helps to visualize what your wristlet is going to look like. Now I'm going to go and we're going to go and make this. Now I've shown this before. We do need to mirror because we are using iron-on HTV. We don't need to mirror the wristlet. So you can click, it's not going to make a difference whether you do or don't because it's a symmetrical shape. Now I'm going to move these red names off the mat and move them to my grey one, just so that it's one cut rather than having to change the mat 3 times. Again, if you want a bit more detail, go back to the Donut Give Up clip that I did last week, and it goes into more detail on how to do that. But essentially you click on it and then click on the 3 dots on the left hand side of the object. All right, so now I'm ready to make. When I'm making the wristlet, I'm going to go to Browse All Materials because I don't have faux leather in my set base materials as at this stage. So I'm just going to type in faux fur, leather, suede, but we're going to choose leather paper thin. It is very thin pleather that we are working with, so that's the most appropriate. And you can see that we don't have to change the blade or anything for this one, which is really good. So I'm going to show you how to attach the pleather to the grip mat. Now I've tried this 2 different ways. The first way I did it, I had the pink facing down, which I've done before on other pleather. However, when I cut it, this actually, it ripped up the kind of like the disco component of it. So that pleather has got a very thin, like a contact on top, and it's stuck to the grip mat. So I'm going to do it this way to hopefully make sure that will lift up and keep the pink decoration. Now, I'm using the strong grip mat, but if you have been cricketing for a while, you will know that this does not guarantee success in terms of keeping that down, and it will jam up your machine if it pops off. So I'm using masking tape, so just from Bunnings, Kmart, and I'm just going around the edge just to give it that extra insurance to make sure that it is going to stay down on my grip mat as I feed it through the machine. Make sure you do it all the way around. Don't skip this step. I have done it and I've skipped this step before The first time I did anything on a strong grip mat, it was a bit of pleather, different type, and my heart sunk because I thought I'd just broken my machine. It made a horrible sound. The mat got stuck in there. It was a debacle. So do not, by any means, make that mistake. While the mat's still in the machine, I'm just going to check and make sure that that is going to come off and it's cut through enough times. I used the pleather setting, so it did 4 cuts, so it should have worked. And on testing, it's perfect. All right, now that it's out of the machine, I'm just going to lift that up. It comes off so nicely. It is so good. The other pleather that I've used, it's actually left a lot of residue on the grip mat, so this one's really good. And it's nice and thin. I really like it. So spotlight for the win there. I'm just going to take that little bit of masking tape off, hoping that it doesn't lift, and bingo. It hasn't lifted that that top layer off, which is really good, and it hasn't left any kind of residue on there either. So a bit of masking tape to hold it down is perfect. And just checking that it worked properly. How good is that? It looks so pretty. I'm loving this colour. Okay, so just like with any other HTV application, you need to make sure that you do a little bit of prep prior. So I've got my offset and my weeding separated out, ready to go. I've got my little bit of baking paper. Just give it a quick iron over the top just to heat it up. We like to do that just to make sure that there's a little bit of residual heat there to help the vinyl stick. And I'm just I was going to eyeball it, and I think I probably did a good job, but I'm going to just fold it, I think. I've got my tape measure here. So I'm just going to fold. Remember to fold from one side of the decal to the other. Don't fold just the plastic in half or the backing in half. You've got to fold the actual decal, but just pinch the top and the bottom. Now, I think it should be about 13 centimetres. Yep, spot on. So 13 centimetres. And so I want the middle of that decal to hit that 6.5 centimetre line, as long as I have it there. And then I can just kind of eyeball the placement widthways, but I've got it right in the middle there. So just going to add my offsets, and then as we usually do, we're just going to layer over the top. Okay, so just like with all other HTV, just give it an extra swipe over with your heat source. That just helps to cure it, seal it in place. We are going to do a little bit more of a seal shortly, but just do that extra iron. It also just makes sure that everything's in the right spot. I did flip this over just to give it another iron. It was mainly because the pleather curled a little on ironing, so I just wanted to flatten it out so it was at the right spot. All right, so now is the fun part. It's putting it together. So it folds in half nicely, and I'm just going to grab some clear craft glue. I'm just doing this because I've made a keychain once before with this fob, and I'm a teacher, and so I'm using these keys a lot. And then I'm pulling them in and out of my pocket all the time, and I found that the fob actually came off the last key ring. And so what I thought was, if I do a little bit of craft glue underneath the fob, then hopefully that should make it stick a little bit better. So I put a little bit of glue. Now these little fobs are a little tricky. I don't know if there's anyone out there who's got a special method, but this tool, they're like I don't know, they're not pliers, but I don't know what this tool is. But it clamps the two things together, I guess. But it slips off. So I'm just trying to, and I've gone off the screen here, which is really frustrating for you watching it. But I just kind of try and close it a little bit, just so that this tool gets a grip on it a little bit better when I'm ready to put the fob on there. All right, so I've got the glue there, and I'm going to face those teeth into the glue. So I'm going to put it over the top of my fob. So that's that little section at the top that we created. And it's just going to sit in there. And then I grab this little tool thing, these clamps, and now I'm just going to clamp that down. It's a little tricky. It's just got to have patience. Again, it's one of these things that the effort is worth it, but you need a bit of patience to make sure that you get it done correctly. And then you might need to shuffle like I did. Just shuffle it around to make sure it's flush and straight, and then just give it that real almighty squeeze. You can see I'm a little bit, I'm shaking. I'm pushing it down that much. And you haven't put heaps of glue on it, so it shouldn't seep out too much. But it should just hold that in place a little bit better. So there you go. Now you could leave it as it is there. However, again, with the last one I made, I found that the name, because I use it a lot more even than just regular keys, that maybe a little bit of Mod Podge, which I got from Spotlight. It's about $12 a bottle. I know lots of people talk about Maker's Magic, that's American, but we don't get it in Australia. So Mod Podge is the best we've got. So I'm putting it on initially with a, I don't know, what's it called, a sponge brush or something. So I'm just going to do that initial wipe over with that. And then I saw someone on YouTube or Instagram, I can't remember, but they just use their finger just so that you get rid of those streaks. And so I've just tried it out for this one, and I think I really like it because it gets rid of those, even though you're using the sponge, it still gives me those streaks, and I don't like it. Now, to start off with, on the silver, it looked like it had changed colour, and I thought the pink had lifted from the pleather, but I think it turned out fine. So it was just a little bit of that initial Mod Podge mixing. But yeah, I was very tempted to keep playing with it, but I thought if I just keep playing with it, it's just going to get my sticky fingerprints. So, and the great thing about Mod Podge, it doesn't take very long to dry. So if I give it a little bit, I was giving it a little bit of a blow on it. And also I just wanted to make sure that it didn't, I wanted it to keep its shape. So being the impatient crafter that I am, I wanted to do the other side. I didn't just want it to sit there and wait for it to dry. So I just grabbed some of that baking paper. But it doesn't, honestly, Mod Podge takes nothing to dry because you're putting such a thin layer on it that it's not really something that will take hours to dry if you're just doing this one layer like I'm doing. I'm just loving how this turned out. I love the pink on the silver on the pink. Really pops. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, and I'll see you next week. Let's make this!